transactions with that wallet. So that's something to be aware of. And if there's any sort of questions that anybody kind of has related to actually participating in the process, any of these deadlines, any questions, there's a mega thread here. And actually, for anybody who doesn't have the link, I'll post it here to these notes. There's some useful links here. There's the mega thread, which has all of the information, links to all the proposals. There is this final details for the Aragon network vote. This has like a step-by-step guide for actually participating using the application.
Hey, Luke, I think you just went on mute. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
Yeah, you're muted, Luke.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. My Bluetooth headphones disconnected and it automatically muted me. I don't know why. So this second blog post here has all of the information, step-by-step guides for participating in the vote. It was just published by John, I think, a few hours ago. So if you have any questions, look there first. And I think that's kind of the general like administrative. This is how the process works. So if there's no kind of questions on that, we can actually jump into some of these proposals that are on the table, which I think is probably the most interesting part of this call. And we'll just kind of go in sequential order, I think, and we'll touch briefly on each of these. So AGP 9, the separation of church, state, and network. This is kind of like a fun policy proposal. It was actually included or submitted in the first AGP vote cycle, which is why it's got such a low number. But it was not approved just because there was concerns, I guess, by the association that there would be too many things on the ballot. It would be kind of a distraction. But it was included this time. The actual text of the vote, if you click on the link, you can read any of these. If you're looking at the notes, if you click on the link there, you can actually go to the actual AGP content on GitHub. And in this case, you can read the specific policy. This is essentially a community member. I don't know, Anteater 0x, I think, is pseudonymous. I don't think he's on this call. But basically saying that like the association should have a policy of being neutral to like community holidays, and like we shouldn't say Merry Christmas on our Twitter, which I think happened last December. So it's kind of like an interesting community cultural vote. Somebody is having an issue with sound. There should be sound. It may just be a problem on your end, Julian. Okay. So we don't necessarily have any. We don't have Anteater here to talk about this proposal, but if anybody else has anything they want to add, questions, comments, concerns, clarifications, now would be a good time. Otherwise, we can move on to the next next proposal. Nope. Going once, going twice. Cool. The next one on here is decentralizing Aragon PM.eth. This is somewhat technical of a proposal. If you're familiar with kind of the Aragon architecture, all of the packages that get deployed for upgrades are done via like an on-chain process. Currently, the main repository that pushes all of the upgrades for apps and makes them available is the Aragon PM.eth APM repository. And currently this is centrally managed by the Aragon 1 team. And this proposal describes a process for handing over some of that authority to a kind of a more community-run DAO organization. So it would actually use an Aragon DAO to manage the permissions, and there'd be votes on proposals to add upgrades, and they could be followed. The crux of it is that the Aragon Association can mint or burn tokens in this org to apply different rights. So that's kind of the overall governance structure. I don't know if we have Jorge on the call. Jorge was the author of this proposal, if you want to provide any sort of clarifications.
Yeah, that was a very good summary, Luke. So yeah, I mean, ever since like our Aragon PM was designed with this use case in mind, that it's actually a DAO that we would be able to install voting app into it and a token manager, and automatically within the DAO would control all the repos and the registry itself. So yeah, I think the change that it's coming here, because if you realize the original token distribution, Aragon 1 still holds a sizable amount of the tokens that have control over this DAO. But I would say the most important thing is setting up the structure for other Flock teams or community members to request governance rights over Aragon deployments. This will have the implication that deployments wouldn't be automatic unless there was like some coordination between all the DAO members to get something upgraded ASAP. But the worst case, it would be 7 to 8 hour delay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Okay, Luke, back to you. I don't know if you're trying to talk, but you're muted.
Oh, I think it automatically mutes you if you're not talking for a period of time. So thank you for the reminder. I definitely was talking. I don't. If there aren't any, looks like there are questions. Mario, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute? Okay, no questions. Perfect. Okay, so the next one on here, and this one I think probably will have some questions. It's pretty interesting. This is a Flock funding proposal for Aragon Black. And there's a forum discussion thread on this as well, which actually has a lot of details and back and forth from various community members. Do we have anybody from Aragon Black on the call that kind of wants to give a quick summary of their proposal?
Yes, I think there are 3 of us. It's Olivier talking. Maybe I can go for the summary. So yeah, I mean, so the idea that we've been working with Aragon for more than a year now through 2 Nest grants. One for Pando, which is a decentralized alternative to GitHub, which is released on Rinkaby now. The other one being for IPRE, which is a fundraising application implementing continuous funding scheme. Basically, it's like a bonding curve mechanism, so people can invest, buy bonds or shares of your DAO and sell it back. So that's the 2 main projects we've been working on Aragon for the past year. And yeah, so we've decided to ask to go to the next level and to go through the Flock program and to ask for a Flock funding grant. So I won't go too much in the details of the proposal, but yeah, basically the main points of this funding proposal, of this Flock proposal, is to keep working on Apiary, Basically, we have a grant nest going until this summer. The idea will be to switch from the grant nest to the apiary grant through the FLAG program. The idea also being to be able to commit on the longer term on this FLAG application. So keep on working on this apiary on this apiary application. Sorry. So keep on working on the apiary app and try to provide a network-wide, let's say, application so people can actually invest into Aragon DAOs without going necessarily through the Aragon front end or the Aragon client. And so to design an app which is more suited to this kind of investment actions, activities. The other thing is to also take responsibility of the Aragon package manager. So trying to improve the Aragon package manager. You talked a little bit about that earlier. The idea is to make it backward compatible with NPM. So basically you can actually host your packages on the Aragon PM and still use your packages with NPM. And also would like to provide a front end for that so people can search packages and all, because the more we are going to move forward, the more packages are going to be, and it starts being complicated to track everything. And the last technical part of the proposal is to keep working on Pondo and to help decentralize the development of Aragon. So basically make it so that Aragon dev can happen both on GitHub and on Pondo. Also to have a way to incentivize open source contributors to the Aragon code base. And yes, also trying in a more general term to focus on improving the existing Aragon stack, the existing Aragon infrastructure, like pinning problem, also working on the CLI and trying to work on extending the CLI. Some work has already been done around that. And also there's a huge work which is already ongoing, but we'd like to secure it through this funding about helping new organization onboard Aragon and start using Aragon DAOs. So we are in touch with a couple of organizations, both coming from the blockchain space, some of them also coming from, let's say, the activist space or the artistic space, who are willing to DAOify themselves somehow. So we are working with them closely to try to onboard them on Aragon, trying to define what their governance purposes are, trying to design the governance scheme with them, and trying to help them use Aragon and deploy their Aragon DAOs. And also we'd like to start a blog. It's more of a minor proposal, but like to start a blog to be able to, let's say, theorize further what we are doing in this DAO landscape. So invite a couple of academics people coming from politics studies, economics, sociology, stuff like that, to let them know about what's going on in this field and ask them some thought about that. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe Jen or Danny, if you had something to add, but.
Cool. Thank you for the summary. One of the interesting things that I noticed in the discussions for that proposal in particular was sort of this tangent on like sustainability for the project, onboarding users, and potential like revenue streams. I don't know if anybody wants to kind of speak to that a little bit, but I thought it was really interesting, the approach to kind of exploring a specific target market. I know you guys have worked a lot with kind of writers and like the DAO license thing and kind of bootstrapping that sort of economy within the Aragon ecosystem.
Yeah. Maybe Jem and Daniel, I let you answer about that because you are the one running the DAO incubator stuff for now.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, great. All right. So on the monetization side, there was a long post by Olivier, and I invite you to check that out on the forum discussion post because it's really very detailed on that part. But I think the 3 or 4 main parts is first on the apiary, so the fundraising app for DAOs. There's an opportunity for Aragon to somehow monetize fundraising transactions, and that based on even a very little fraction of the ICO volume and a small percentage cut could generate a lot of revenue for the association. There is also the fact that because there is going to be like repository management through Pando and a lot of like investment side activities going on with Apiari, this will also create an opportunity to use the Aragon court. And the Aragon court, as we know, requires staking for the fees. So this is also a driver of the value of the token of the ENT. Another thing could be on the IPFS side. So basically, there's a discussion right now on IPFS pinning that is also on the Aragon forum, and there is a discussion about MongoDB versus OrbitDB, etc. And one of the ways to generate revenue would be to incentivize validators of data sets to kind of maintain the truthfulness of the data inside of a PFS via staking, and so that could be another driver of revenue. And the fourth one would be generally related to the onboarding of DAOs, and basically, like, there is an issue right now of like what is the valuation of a DAO. So it's not like a discounted cash flow like a company. It's not either like a velocity of the token kind of curve like Chris Bernice model, but it's actually related to like the whole like economy, like kind of a proxy to the GDP and how much you can charge for services and fees on top of that. And so the whole part on onboarding is not only to bring users to the platform and to give feedback, but also equally to eventually raise revenue from those onboarded DAOs. And I think those are the four main. And if Olivier and Jem think there's something I forgot, yeah, I'll invite them to join.
Yeah, I think the last point maybe of most of the stuff is still at the research level, but the last access for incentivization or
Sorry, was that a question? I can't hear very well.
no, I was just adding a point there. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I hear performance or something like that. Maybe somebody else who hears better can answer, because I really don't hear well. It's cutting.
Yes, Daniel, I was just trying to add a point there about how to provide some runway to the Aragon project. And yeah, the last hypothesis which we discussed there is to use also the Aragon package manager. Somehow we are trying to figure out a way maybe to. Oh, no one is this. No one is hearing me. Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of like background noise and it's kind of muffled. Is the yeah, maybe typing in the chat might be better.
I think the noise was coming from Danny. So Oliver, you can try it again.
Yes, can you hear me well now?
Yes.
That's much better.
Okay, so yes, I was talking about one of the last axes we thinking about using to like provide runaway to Aragon at the network level is also that providing or working on an insurance system for the Aragon package manager. This is something which has already been researched by the folks of Zeppelin OS. So basically, it's always tricky when you use a package manager, because you have to trust very, very carefully the package you're using, the smart contracts you're using. So basically, people could stake on top of these packages to provide some kind of an insurance system. So it could be another way of providing, let's say, value to AMT and then to the whole Aragon network. So that's the 3 or 4 main paths we are working on for the Aragon runaway issue, let's say.
Cool, and those were all kind of described in that the forum thread for the Flock funding, right? That's in this, or is it a separate link?
Yes, everything is summarized in this thread.
Perfect. Cool. I'll kind of open the floor if there's any other questions before we move on to the Edgeware block drop proposal. Cool. All right. So HEP 35 is a proposal for Aragon to participate in the Edgeware lock drop, and the lock drop is basically they have a way for holders of ETH, which Aragon holds a substantial chunk of ETH, to lock that ETH for a certain period of time, or even just signal it in order to get, I guess, the Edgeware native token when they launch later in the year. And there's the actual proposal kind of delegates the actual amount and some of the details to the association. So it's sort of like signaling approval to do something like this. Is anybody on the Edgeware proposal team on this call? I think they said they might be attending.
Yes, hi, Tom Avi here. I'm the head of growth for Commonwealth Labs.
Cool. Do you want to give a quick summary or?
Yeah, of course. So sorry, the proposal contains quite a bit of language. It explains basically what Edgeware is and why Aragon might look to participate in such a network launch. Primarily value alignment, concurrent experimentation in on-chain governance. But we focus on the protocol layer, obviously. And the benefits, as you say, are the obtaining of the Edge token, which permits governance rights over the network. And we kind of outlay the options down below. You can lock for 3, 6, or 12-month periods, or signal. So the proposal says the association would have the ability to lock up to 40,000 Ethereum or ETH for 3 months. However, that could change, I suppose, on a time basis. And then also to signal the remainder of the treasury, which would give a significant amount of say in how the network unfolds. And why we do it this way is primarily to select for committed participants who are in it for the long haul. So that's why we selected ETH over other things. And I guess I just want to kind of torch the floor because this is kind of a different proposal. It's technically in the finance track, but all of the funds remain under the control of the association throughout every stage of the process, except for that sort of locking mechanism. The other thing I want to point out is that the lock drop contract is fully open source, available online, and has been audited by QuantStamp. So that link is in our thread, and I encourage anyone to take a look at it. We have 0 issues. Looks like we've got a question from John Marlin. Is Edgeware? Yes, it is a new blockchain. It is a WASM runtime smart contract platform with on-chain governance, and it is intended to be the first smart contract platform for the Polkadot network. So that kind of relates to some of the other AGP proposals on the table today. Sorry about the quick run through. Any other cues?
Looks like no other kind of questions on that. So we'll go ahead and move forward. If any questions on any of the ones we've previously talked about come up, don't hesitate to bring them up. I think we'll be okay on time. So I'm going to talk about AGP 37 and then also AGP 43 kind of at the same time. These are both sort of related to the idea of an Aragon network security partner. And this is something that actually came up in the previous Aragon network vote as well, where we funded a Aragon network security partner in the form of Auth.io, to kind of work closely with the Flock teams to perform ongoing audits and kind of establish sort of a relationship with a single auditing company. I know that as part of that proposal, and it was kind of like an interesting dynamic, Consensus Diligence kind of joined forces with Auth.io, and we've been working with both teams to some degree in order to kind of do rolling audits as we release patch updates and new versions of the software. I don't want to provide a summary of these two just because I feel like I don't know all the details as well as somebody that's a bit more technically minded. But if we have somebody from either proposal team or one of the kind of devs on A1 that want to give some additional information on the kind of Aragon network security partner situation, that would be a good time.
Hi. My name's John. I'm with Consensus Diligence. So we submitted AGP 37, the retainer proposal. And so what we, I suppose, actually, so first, I think that it'd be best if we try to give context on the initial this past period. And so, Jack, I know you're on the call. Feel free to jump in. But we worked with Authio. There was basically during the voting period some interesting dynamic, as you put it, and we really enjoyed working with them and worked with them on like a sort of ramp up audit, and also during the initial period, Consensus Diligence provided ongoing, as we call it, security review services. The two main auditors on that project, Martin and Sergey, are also both on this call. So maybe I'll just put it there, let Jack from Authio give their perspective as well. And it might even make more sense to introduce the other AGP before I speak to ours. If Jack is on this call, otherwise I can continue.
I don't see a Jack other than Jack Platts, which I don't think is the Jack that you're referring to.
Oh, okay. All right, my bad. Yeah, okay. So I'll speak to 43 quickly. That essentially, I think, yeah, it'd be great to bring it up, please, Luke. But the context is that estimating the effort for a project for an audit or anything at the beginning of a 3-month period and understanding the needs of a fairly quickly moving development project are really hard. That's a really hard thing to do. So this proposal introduces more flexibility, basically delegating to the AA to source and negotiate with potential security providers.
Received of which still has some sort of a community consent, for example, maybe before the term expires, vote happens 3 months prior to that or something like that, so there is no interruption with your workflow. Could some options like that be discovered, or this is the only way to go from your perspective?
I don't know if we have Stefano on the call. I do know in the forum post he said he was very supportive of AGP 43. We do have Luis and Jorge from the association board. I don't know if you guys want to take a step.